We hope you enjoy today's story. I am a simple man who makes a living by operating a bulldozer. I have provided well for my wife Marcy and our two sons, 15-year-old Jason and 16-year-old old Troy. We reside in a modest house that is almost paid off, and we have sufficient funds in the bank to support our son's college education. Marcy and I have been married for 18 years, or at least I have perceived that to be the case. I have experienced the typical aging process, including weight gain, hair loss, and the formation of wrinkles. My occupation maintains my physical fitness. However, my hands are somewhat calloused and rough. Marcy, on the other hand, has aged very well. Her body seemed to fill out with age, and her hairstyle and overall appearance made her stand out. I was very proud that she became my wife. She dressed well and knew how to take care of herself for maximum effect. I am questioning the state of my marriage. I believe that, like most men, I became confident and content with the status quo. I assumed that if I was happy, then Marcy must be too. I never sought trouble and I never had any reason to suspect anything. I am trusting by nature, which I now recognize as a form of naivety. For approximately 6 months, the dinners on Wednesdays have been more palatable than usual. Initially, I was uncertain as to why this was the case. Marcy has consistently exhibited a cheerful demeanor and has been eager to designate Wednesdays as a special occasion for the family, which has been well received. However, I have also observed that on Wednesdays she would often appear to be dressed in a more casual manner than usual. Instead of her usual attire, she would wear sweatpants or some form of leisure wear. It was notable that on every other evening of the week, she would wear her usual clothes until bedtime. However, by the time Wednesday dinner came around, she would have changed. I am not inclined to investigate these matters further. At the end of the day, I simply place my soiled garments in the laundry basket and proceed with my activities. However, tonight I felt compelled to delve deeper. I was previously unaware that Marcy possessed black lingerie. It was situated at the base of the basket, nestled among damp towels. Its presence there was evident. The towels were strategically placed to conceal them. She must have been confident that I would never look there. She knew me quite well. Perhaps I should have picked them up and examined them. I am unsure what I would have found out, but I was reluctant to do it. I wondered if there was a connection between the delicious food on Wednesdays, the early change of clothes, and the new fashionable lingerie. Sometimes I regretted not being such a simple, trusting fool. Since this had been going on for approximately 6 months, I felt it was time to investigate further. If she was doing something behind my back, she was quite cautious. Regarding the aforementioned matter, my company issued each of us a portable GPS device to track the location of the equipment. The following Wednesday, prior to commencing work, I activated the device and placed it on the floor beneath the driver's seat in Marcy's Volvo. The batteries were designed to last for 14 hours. Throughout the day, I experienced difficulty concentrating at work. After another excellent dinner, I contemplated what I would discover after another night of successful planning. However, I was not concerned about alerting Marcy to my actions. She did not suspect anything when I left the house to purchase new batteries for the GPS. The GPS device initially directed me to a pharmacy located a few miles from my residence, and subsequently to the airport. I was able to ascertain the precise location of the vehicle, which was parked in close proximity to my own. If you are interested in acquiring such devices, the route then proceeded to my residence with a scheduled stop at a local grocery store. However, I was compelled to wait for an extended period, which was a source of considerable frustration. A week later, I proceeded to the automotive parts store, where I discovered that they were selling car door latches. Upon my return, I observed that everything was in order. Marcy and the children were engaged in watching television, and it appeared that we were a unified and contented family. I proceeded to take a shower and attend to the laundry. Upon reaching the bottom of the basket, I discovered a set of light olive-colored silk lingerie. Before joining the family, I took the opportunity to examine her lingerie drawer. There, behind her everyday underwear, I found several sets of fashionable items that were not new. I carefully closed the dresser drawer and proceeded to sit with my wife is a loving individual, and I had no difficulty taking the day off. The following Wednesday, I located a suitable spot at the rear of the hotel parking lot, where I could remain inconspicuous. I brought a cooler with water and snacks, assuming that she would arrive after lunch. However, I was uncertain about her exact schedule. After completing the 10th Sudoku puzzle, I observed the Volvo automobile arriving in the same location as the previous week. It remained stationary for over 10 minutes until a silver cruiser was parked approximately 7 meters away. The driver exited the vehicle and proceeded to room 121. As soon as he unlocked and opened the door, Marcy rapidly approached. I then proceeded to unlock the vehicle and retrieve the license from the glove compartment. I was uncertain as to whether I should await their departure or simply leave the premises, as I was eager to depart. Ultimately, I opted to depart, as I felt the situation was no longer conducive to my comfort. Todd Marshall appeared to be in his early to mid-30s. He was well-dressed and seemed to be a respectable individual. He was well-dressed and appeared to be a suitable match for Marcy. I could understand why she was attracted to him. He had qualities that I lacked and would never possess. On my way home, I stopped by the address listed in the registration book. It was a modest house in a well. The residence was situated in an established neighborhood, yet it did not appear to be a family home. There were no indications of children in the vicinity. It seemed that he would not encounter difficulty in forming relationships with women of a similar age or younger. However, I was unable to comprehend his motivation for pursuing Marcy. She appeared to possess qualities that I had not previously considered desirable. As a result, I was uncertain about the appropriate course of action. On Sunday, the children were not at home, and Marcy and I were relaxing with the newspaper. She seemed somewhat tense and finally spoke up. "John," she began, "is something wrong? You seem a bit distant lately. The commencement of college for the children is beginning to have an impact on the family. You have consistently been engaged in lengthy work hours, which I assumed you were accustomed to. However, I am concerned about a number of issues. I am concerned that I am not sufficiently attentive to you. I am also concerned that I am not the optimal husband. While financial stability is important, it is not the sole determining factor in a fulfilling marriage. Everything is fine, then? You are happy, then? I am happy. I have a wonderful home, 2 great kids, an amazing husband, and a new Volvo. What more could a woman want? I have never yelled at my wife or criticized her in any way. However, hearing her tell me how everything was great while knowing, I was overcome with emotion when I discovered that she was unfaithful. I swiftly collected my belongings and prepared to leave the premises. John, I am at a loss to comprehend the source of your distress. Could you clarify which remark I made that caused such a strong reaction? I am genuinely remorseful. Have I displayed any overt signs of distress recently? I have never observed you in such a state of distress. Are there underlying issues you would prefer to discuss? I have consistently been I am available to assist you in any way I can. I was overwhelmed by the situation and unable to cope. I blamed myself for everything that had happened. I did not want this. I wanted things to be as they were. I wanted peace and tranquility. I am at a loss as to why she initiated this conversation. I stood at the door and looked at her directly. I would appreciate an answer. I have one question, and I ask that you answer it truthfully. As long as you answer truthfully, everything will be fine. However, if you lie or evade the question, I am unsure of the consequences. I want to reassure you that everything is fine. I have never lied to you, John. I have never had any reason to doubt your loyalty. I have always perceived you to be honest and truthful in our relationship. However, I feel compelled to inquire about this matter. Could you please clarify who you are meeting at the hotel every Wednesday and the purpose of these meetings? Marcy's demeanor indicated a profound shock and nervousness. Her gaze shifted rapidly from one place to another, the floor of the room as if she were searching for an exit and knew there wasn't one. At last, she spoke softly and slowly. I awaited her response, but none was forthcoming. This, I surmise, is the answer to my question. I shall refrain from broaching this topic again. I am going to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me. As I departed, she was silent. However, upon entering the vehicle, she began to implore me to return inside. I felt the urge to consume alcohol. Marcy was in bed when I finally returned home. She did not move or make a sound as I lay down beside her. The following morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. The boys were unaware of the developments between us. Breakfast proceeded as usual, but in a subdued manner. I left for work without saying anything. Dinner that Wednesday was similar to previous meals. Marcy was in regular clothes, and the food was palatable but not exceptional. I assumed she had not seen her lover that day. A brief examination of the laundry basket seemed to corroborate my suspicions. Only regular cotton underwear was present. I thus resolved to monitor her activities more closely. Marcy had acquired a cellular telephone approximately 6 months prior, yet I had not done so. After conducting further research, I discovered that I could call a specific number and access her mobile phone's call log at any given moment. This information was updated within an hour. I was unable to view her mobile phone bills, as Marcy was responsible for managing our shared financial accounts and handled all related correspondence. Additionally, I recognized that our social circle was limited, which made it challenging for me to ascertain the reasons behind Marcy's frequent use of the mobile phone. I made all my calls from the landline, as did the children. Marcy, however, also utilized the landline. Upon her return, I purchased a prepaid cell phone for myself, with no accompanying bills or contractual obligations. It was inexpensive, and I could monitor her call log at any time and from any location. As you may have surmised, 90% of her calls on her cell phone were to the same number she called Todd 8 times. Since I confronted her on Sunday, he had called her 6 times. I was eager to ascertain the nature of their conversations, yet I was uncertain of the most appropriate approach. Over the subsequent 3 weeks, they spoke on several occasions each day. Then, on Wednesday, we had a pleasant dinner. I had presumed that the black outfit was at the bottom of the laundry basket, but I was incorrect. On the following Wednesday morning, the GPS device was reinstalled in the vehicle. Marcy had ceased her intention of visiting the hotel. The GPS indicated that David Drive 321, the residence of Todd Marshall, was the destination. At least, a satisfactory dinner had been enjoyed on the previous evening. It was no longer possible to accuse Marcy of having arranged to meet someone at the hotel. I procured a couple of bottles of water, a sandwich, and a Sudoku book, which I finally had an opportunity to utilize. I utilized my mobile phone for a practical purpose. I called for a taxi, which delivered me to the bus stop in close proximity to Todd's residence approximately 2 hours later. Marcy subsequently appeared. She parked the Volvo automobile approximately half a block from his residence and proceeded directly into the front entrance. I possessed a spare key to her highly valued vehicle. It required approximately 20 minutes for me to drive to the hotel and park the Volvo in the same location she had. I had parked the vehicle a month ago, in anticipation of returning home. Marcy was unaware of my return, and I observed the vehicle, later identified as the Silver Cruiser, twice as it drove past the house before dropping her off at the corner. My vehicle was parked in the driveway, which I believe caused them some concern. John, the bulldozer broke down around 2. I was informed that I could take the remainder of the day off. However, I have some unfortunate news. I was at the shopping center when my Volvo was stolen. Was it locked? It was locked. I was only there for a short while, and when I came out, it was gone. I immediately called the police and reported the incident. I would have called you, but I did not think you would be home. What did you purchase? Nothing. I was simply browsing TVs for Christmas. Nevertheless, the circumstances remain unchanged. Did you return home? The police dropped me off. I did not observe the vehicle. She shot me an irritated glance and began ascending the stairs. Marcy, would you kindly order pizza for dinner? That is acceptable. I am curious as to where you found the red lace lingerie on Friday evening when you returned home from work. The Volvo was in the garage. I see you have retrieved your vehicle. They called earlier today. She sat at the kitchen table, gazing at the coffee cup in front of her. Her fingers gripped the handle of the cup as if she had an obsessive idea. She appeared disheveled and tired, and she refused to look at me or acknowledge my presence more than was necessary. I proceeded to take a shower. When I emerged from the shower, she had not moved. I sat on the couch in the living room and picked up the newspaper while she placed the cup in the sink. She then proceeded to ascend the stairs. I inquired about the location of the car. I then turned away from her. She was unable to discern the smirk on my face, and so she paused for a moment, then continued up to the bedroom. It was a low blow on my part. I should never have said that. It was out of character for me and cruel. I always regretted it. That evening, we ordered pizza again, and I explained to the boys that their mother was not feeling well. Wednesday dinners returned to normal, as did her attire. I tracked the phone calls, but there were none. She was not contacting anyone. As time passed without any notable changes, I began to check the call logs with less and less frequency. The situation between me and Marcy reached a point where we were merely coexisting in the same house. There was a complete absence of sexual intimacy, including no longer greeting each other with a kiss goodnight or saying goodbye in the morning. Our conversations were limited to what was necessary for us to function. It was a difficult period, but it was inevitable. I conducted my usual check of her mobile phone usage, and then, approximately 3 months later, I accidentally checked it again and found new phone calls. I was dismayed. I did not anticipate that the situation would improve, but I hoped it would not deteriorate further. He contacted her first, and then there were several exchanges of calls in a short period of time. I prayed that it would never come to this, but my prayers went unanswered. I noticed a slight change I observed a shift in her demeanor and discerned that she was engaged in a malevolent scheme. I resumed monitoring her phone activity on a daily basis. On Wednesday morning, I entered the showroom of the local Chrysler dealership, anticipating that Todd Marshall would not be present. I discovered that Todd had been granted the privilege of taking Wednesday off, ostensibly to peruse automobiles. I proceeded down the hallway towards the restrooms in the employee break room, situated in the lobby. There, I observed a display case containing bowling trophies. Trophies were on display, including a photograph of Todd with the rest of the bowling team. One of the salesmen emerged from the room and commented, "You have an impressive collection here." I replied that we were not particularly interested in softball, so this collection served as a substitute. I inquired about the bowling team's usual venue, which I learned was Crystal Lanes in Elkmont on Friday nights. I spent a few more minutes perusing the showroom before heading to Crystal Lanes. The main building was a long steel structure set perpendicular to the road. Along one side was a parking lot surrounded by a row of trees and shrubs. The lighting in the parking lot seemed somewhat inadequate, which was in accordance with my plans. I proceeded inside and consulted the league bowling schedule, which was prominently displayed on Friday evening. The boys had a school football match. Marcy did not enjoy attending the games and was not eager to accompany me. In any case, this provided me with a rationale for departing the residence. Marcy was seated at the kitchen table when I arrived for a late breakfast. Her eyes were red and swollen, indicating that she had been crying for an extended period of time. When I entered the room, she regarded me with a hatred I had never previously observed. She did not speak as I prepared coffee. She subsequently departed the room and proceeded upstairs. I sat down and reached for the newspaper that was in front of her. Police discovered the body of Todd Marshall in the Crystal Lanes parking lot the previous night. It appears that he was the victim of a violent robbery as he was departing the bowling alley following a league game. His wallet was recovered in a dumpster a block from the crime scene. However, the police have yet to identify any suspects or ascertain any leads. It is believed that his watch and credit cards were flushed down the storm drain, and it is unlikely that they will ever resurface. The timing was fortuitous. I arrived at the boys' football game at the scheduled start time and remained until its conclusion. I also drove the boys to and from the game. I empathized with Marcy, but not with Todd. Marcy spent the entire day in her bedroom, crying. I did not attempt to engage with her or offer solace. If I had, she would have been unable to articulate her emotions without inadvertently revealing her feelings. I was reluctant to interact with her in the same way I had the previous night. Marcy, as was her custom, prepared Sunday breakfast. She appeared fresh and rested, yet her demeanor was gloomy and sluggish. Despite having done nothing wrong, she was not the same cheerful person she had been previously. She inquired about the football game and apologized for her absence. There was no eye contact between us. I did not insist, and we spent the majority of the day with the boys, engaging in activities such as mowing, raking, and trimming. We had lunch and dinner together. The boys appeared to be aware of the tension between Marcy and myself, but did not acknowledge it. That night, I attempted to fall asleep in bed, but was unable to do so and ended up on the couch instead. Inside Todd's wallet, I discovered a small photograph of Marcy posing in a state of undress. Her breasts and pubic area were visible, and she was smiling widely. The image was not pornographic. It was sexual in nature. Marcy appeared attractive in the photograph, but it was clear that it was not intended for my viewing. The photograph was placed in the drawer with her lingerie beneath her other intimate items. Our life continued as normally as possible. Marcy carried out her usual activities, but it seemed as though she spent more time on each task. She was constantly reorganizing and rearranging items. The dishes were appetizing, but never reached the standard of those prepared on Wednesday. Once I checked the lingerie drawer, the photograph and the special lingerie were gone. She never said anything about the photograph was removed from the house at 321 David Drive. The property was subsequently placed on the market by Todd's brother. After some negotiation, the bank agreed to allow me to make mortgage payments in my own name. I then began renting out the property. We did not discuss what had occurred. If we did not discuss it, we could pretend it had never happened. We were both deceiving ourselves. Once, during a lull in in a subsequent conversation, she posed the question of divorce. It was a serious inquiry, and it was the first time such a topic had been broached. Not yet, she replied. Let's wait until both boys finish high school. Then, everything will be fine. She seemed to indicate that my proposal was preferable to the status quo. I maintained the status quo, as time passed and circumstances remained largely unchanged. Marcy became increasingly preoccupied with her own world. The boys and I did not confront her, as we sensed that she was aware of our situation. However, they denied it just as Marcy and I did. Despite sharing a bed, there was no sexual intimacy. We tolerated each other for reasons that remain unclear. Trey graduated from high school and went to the University of Pennsylvania. I decided it was time to meet with a lawyer on the day Jason left for college. Having departed for college, I encountered Marcy at the kitchen table perusing advertisements. Are you seeking a particular item? I inquired. I believe I require a place to reside. Please be assured that I am offering you the house. It will be free of debt, and you will receive ownership rights in your name. Additionally, you will receive. From the current account, $177,000 was transferred, and $177,000 was withdrawn. You can keep the house or sell it. It is at your discretion. Should you elect to retain the property, it would be prudent to commence seeking gainful employment. Additionally, you are obliged to transfer the utility bills to your name by the end of the month. I observed her in astonishment. It appeared that she had not anticipated my proposal. The tenants who had occupied Todd's former residence vacated the premises, and I proceeded to transfer my belongings there over the course of several weeks. I had purchased the house furnished, as Todd had left it in that state. My remaining tasks were to transfer my personal belongings and acquire a few additional small appliances. The last items from the dresser drawers and closet were quickly placed into several black garbage bags for disposal. I relocated to my new residence, and Marcy observed the process of loading and unloading the vehicle from her vantage point at the kitchen table. Upon completion, I approached her and kissed her on the cheek. I bade her farewell, and she responded with a smile, although her eyes were tearful. The subsequent year passed swiftly after the dissolution of the marriage. Marcy listed the house for sale, and it was purchased shortly thereafter. The boys continued to excel in their academic pursuits. I was gratified to have prepaid for their education. I settled into the new house and ceased all communication with Marcy. I am uncertain of her current whereabouts, but I occasionally observe her Volvo vehicle passing by the house on David Drive. I am unsure if she reflects on our past interactions or if she holds any regrets. Marcy never expressed remorse for her actions and never offered any form of apology. I never inquired for clarification. They never discovered the identity of the individual responsible for the death of Todd Marshall. One of the accounting personnel at the workplace extended an invitation to my residence for a dinner engagement on Friday evening. I am contemplating accepting the invitation. I express my gratitude for your attention and engagement until the conclusion of this discourse. Should you have found this discourse engaging, I request that you subscribe, like the channel, and leave comments.